Okay.
First shot here.
We're on.
We're recording.
All right. Let's get this thing started. How about we have a roll call?
Bob Thompson, Jim Waska,
Jane, no?
Scott Badger.
Bill Terry.
David Campbell?
Dick Bennett. So all members are here.
Yep.
That's good. Means you'll all be voting tonight. Just a reminder that for any votes that we have, if the votes are not unanimous, we will then call a roll of the vote. Otherwise, ask that that be suspended. We have guests online. Would you like to identify yourself? I'm not sure if we can recognize everybody.
Hi, I'm Carla Cole, 15 Lucas Lane.
Hi, Carla. Good evening.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
I'm Noah Randall, and I'll be moving to Jackson this summer.
Welcome.
What was your, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Noah Randall.
No.
My name is Angelo Simeone, 47 Dana Place Road, unit number 5.
My name is Jeff I, Dana Place Association, unit number 7.
How do you spell your last name, Jeff?
Heighgh.
Okay.
Ah. I wouldn't have figured that based on what you said.
Okay. And then George Noon?
Yes, this is George Noon. I'm a resident of Dana Place Road.
Welcome.
Okay, I got him.
All right. First order of business. Let's review the minutes from last meeting. And any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve, a second?
second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. For you folks who are here online or sitting out there, we do have a moment that we allow for public comments on things that are not on the agenda for this evening. If there's something, for example, you guys Dana Place folks, you're on the agenda, so we'll hold until we get there. But if you have something that you'd like to bring up. All right, thank you. At this time, since we're way ahead of schedule and we have folks who really don't want to sit here through the whole meeting, we're going to suspend the regular meeting and we are going to initiate our public hearing. Welcome for those folks who are here for the public hearing. We did the roll call of the members, just so you know. I'm the chair and the way a public hearing works is that I will recognize you and allow you to speak as much as you like, mostly unless you start bringing up things that don't make any sense. And then I'll ask you not to do that. Same thing for voting member determination. Is there anyone here who needs to recuse themselves for this evening's conversation? No? Okay, so we're all voting. And the order of business, it's a one-lot subdivision. Owners of proposed subdivision at Carter Notch Road and Lucas Lane. Tax map R8, lot 46, and the owner of the property is Emily and Peter Benson. Okay, we're at a public hearing. Is someone who'd like to represent
Yes, sir. Burke York from York Land Services. This is
Welcome.
my son Nolan.
Welcome. Come on down.
You don't have to leave.
He's looking for perspective.
It's your show.
You guys already have a couple, but these are a little bit more final here.
Are they different at all, do you know, from the preliminary one?
Well, it has the state approval. There might have been a
The
taste
drawing-
audit.
Is this different than the
The drawing.
518? It looks like.
Pretty much the same, there's no change in the lot.
Okay.
The only thing that would have changed would have been some of the calculating data for the state. Can you pass that one down? Or is that no one?
Good.
Perfect.
Overload.
Do you want to share or would you like your own?
Sure.
Okay.
I apologize for the people online, we don't have any of these that I can display here, so.
It's okay, thank you, I appreciate you saying that.
All right. So we're looking at a one-lot subdivision, and would you like to just review it generally before we go through a checklist? then?
Sure. I believe Peter and Emily had been in prior to give you guys a preliminary look at this, discuss our frontage, things of that nature. And so basically, they had purchased the old Dickerson parcel, which wraps out and around the Apley subdivision on Lucas Lane. And so it wraps out and around that, kind of completely contains everything. And so what they want to do is subdivide this 2+ acre lot. It ends up being 2.08 acres. On the corner of Lucas Lane and Carter Notch Road. Access would be via Carter Notch Road, a private driveway. We show the 4,000 square foot area where a logical place for a septic system would go, which would put the building envelope on the front half of that lot. Now they don't intend on building themselves, so obviously any buyer could do what they wanted within legal limits. And so that's that. There's an existing well that serves the lots on Lucas Lane. So if you follow up Lucas just to the left of the L, there's a large well radius there. We've got 100-foot protection. It's a little bit larger than your standard because these houses that are on Lucas Lane are tapped into that well. We also show a proposed well on our lot, 75 feet to the southeast. So we wouldn't be tying into that well for any reason. Topography is shown. We do have state subdivision approval, and we are currently waiting for final on the driveway permit. I spoke to them today. I spoke to the reviewer today, talked them off the ledge. DOT doesn't operate very. They do a fantastic job. Everything's online now. They are timely. It just seems like it's always right up against the day, so I expect to have that permit within the next few days.
Yeah, the sight lines are pretty good.
Yeah, he didn't have any major issues. He just asked if they were going to maintain the grass or keep it open on the corner of Lucas Lane for site visibility. And I said, well, it's grass now. I can't imagine anybody letting that grow up. So that was about the extent of it. Yep. And if we push the driveway, we show the driveway proposed opposite the telephone pole, centered up on the lot. If we push south of that, then we get closer to the tree line on the neighboring waiting lot. So it just makes sense to go to the center of that lot.
Questions? Any questions?
Excuse me, so, sorry, I just want to clarify when we might be able to say something. Is it now when you're asking questions, or is there public comment? Is it, I don't want to interject if it's not the time.
No, it's a perfect time for you to interject. I was just going to ask if anyone in the public has a question or would like to make a comment.
So we have a few things that we'd like to say. We're Carla and Andrew Capole. We are abutters at 15 Lucas Lane.
Yep.
We owned since 2013.
Mm-hmm.
It is right now, primarily a second home. However, we do plan to move up there permanently as soon as our youngest graduates, which won't be too far away. But anyway, so Drew and I respectively have different things to say. I would like to speak to the conservation of the land, and the reason we bought in Jackson was because of the tranquility and the beauty of the area. I know what Peter and Emily are trying to do. They're trying to contribute to the community, which we can completely respect because our primary home right now is in a town where it's an aging community. We're losing students, we're losing, all kinds of community contributors. And so I know in developing this lot, their hope is to sell and develop to someone who's going to contribute to the community of Jackson. Clearly, we all know that that is not a guarantee. Somebody can come in, buy the land, build a house, sell it to whoever they want to from there. So as much as I respect their intentions, I don't think their intentions are solid enough for the disruption and the change in the climate. We know Jackson to be a beautiful, environmentally sound community that believes in land preservation. And as abutters, we do not want to see another house, which we're also not clear on how big the house could be, right next to us. Emily and Peter can really appreciate that standpoint because they want it where they're proposing, because it doesn't affect them. They have been very vocal about the fact that they didn't want it up closer to them because of the impact on them. However, they're fine with impacting all of us on Lucas Lane. I'm expecting more residents of Lucas Lane to be hopping on, and Drew had a really good point that he's going to touch on. Thank you for giving us so much time to talk.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah, I'm curious with all the frontage of Carter Notch Road that Emily and Peter have, that they chose this one spot where it's affecting numerous abutters, when a little further up the road it would affect nobody. I just find this very curious and somewhat unfair, but that's not part of the discussion. But it just seems almost like this is a test for future development further up the road and whittling away at all the wilderness that we have around us.
Correct, and I just want to add on that. We did, in the very beginning, we actually wrote a letter to the Dickersons asking them to sell that property to us in order to keep it in its current use and preserve the use as is. When the sale went through, we reached out to Emily and Peter and said, hey, we actually reached out to the Dickersons, we didn't hear back. We would really like to buy this property from you. You don't have to go through any of the expenses of subdividing the lot. We want to keep it in its current use. We actually said that we would be interested in buying 10 acres from them in order to preserve current use. We really want to conserve the land. We would have no intention of developing the land if this acreage was sold to us. And Emily did reach out recently and say, are you still interested? Yes, of course we're still interested. Whatever it takes to conserve the land and avoid any disruption to the area. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, any discussion? and have a whole bunch of people shaking their heads that you can't hear.
I can respond to that. And so, the Bensons have been, although it's not under conservation, so they own quite a bit of land here. So the remaining area, we're talking 2.08 acres. We're on that side of the road is 139.86. That is, they're working through conservation right now to put that into a conservation easement. So I think we can alleviate these people's fears that there's going to be a whole pile of lots in here, even though they could. They're well within their right to develop all of this, both sides of the road.
I thought they were already restricted in what they could do.
No, so the Dickersons, everything was working through, everybody's working for the same goal to conserve this. And as part of that, Peter and Emily also felt that it was necessary to help alleviate the housing crisis that we have in the North Country. So they figured one lot in a simple location where it's already developed, keeps that development in one area, and then the rest of it goes under conservation. So I think we can alleviate everybody's fears that we're going to see lots up and down the street here.
Excuse me, but that's really hearsay, right? Like, you can tell us anything you want to right now that development is not going to happen and that they want to put it in conservation, but there are no actions at this moment telling us that they will put it into conservation. So you're asking us to go on trust that they're not going to completely develop Carter Notch Road and affect the ecosystem of the community.
I move that we accept the application.
Yeah, just to explain what our process is, as we go through, we take a look at this and see if there's any, now I appreciate your comments. However, this is a developable lot. It meets the criteria for being developed, assuming there's no deed restrictions or any other things of which we're unaware. And so what we're being asked to do as the planning board is to approve a subdivision of this property. And there is nothing in our zoning ordinance that prohibits this development or this use of this piece of property. And so from our perspective, we have no basis for suggesting, unless members here say otherwise, for saying that we would not accept the application. So we're going to be in the process of accepting the application. We have a checklist for review on this that we have to go through, and once we go through the checklist, assuming everything's in good order, we would then approve the application. That's what the process will require.
Excuse me, can I ask one more question as to the size of the development? Are there any specifications that say that there's a limit on the amount of bedrooms, the height, the width, how much of a space that this development can take up?
I'm not an engineer, but I would expect, and you guys could probably answer that better than I.
Sure.
Yes.
So this is approved for 4 bedrooms by your standards. 4 bedrooms, we exceed 4 bedrooms for the state standards. However, your standards were at the 4-bedroom limit. The building setbacks are shown, and so it's pretty clear that they can't. And then we do have a wetland in one on the southeast corner. So without knowing what anybody's going to do on this lot, I mean, I envision it as a single house lot. So
How many acres is it?
2.08.
So it'd probably be tough to get 2 lots into it anyhow, right?
Oh, you're not subdividing any more than that. We're at 1.
So an ADU would be the most beyond.
So if you did 2 and 2, something like that maybe. But
Is a duplex possible for this location? Are we talking about
We
that?
have a height restriction.
Yeah, you do have a height restriction, but you wouldn't have a duplex here. You might have the possibility, since every homeowner has the right by law to enable an accessory dwelling unit, they could possibly build that additional structure. But that would be the limit, and again, the limit would be based on whether or not the septic can manage all the additional bedrooms. So there's always a restriction on size, just based on the fact that we don't really have a sewage system to service any of our properties.
Okay, so you're saying, I just want to make sure you're saying there cannot be a multifamily unit here, other than an ADU,
I believe that's correct. Anybody understand anything differently?
No, because we've had this question last year. It's really the septic, the limitation of the septic system that would be allowed on this property really dictates the number of bedrooms and the size of anything that goes in here. So we don't do acres, we don't allow building on 2 acre. We don't base it on size, we base it on the septic.
Okay, so what if somebody wanted to put in a 2-unit, 2-bedroom
It's a minimum of 4 bedrooms.
building?
That's 4 bedrooms, so I think that would be the maximum if they
It'd
decided.
be 4
to do something
bedrooms,
like that.
but then you have the lot size in the sense that how would you
The
put it?
kitchen is an additional calculation.
Right, so you
So
have
it'd
2
be
kitchens.
2 kitchens.
Right, you have
4
2
bedrooms.
kitchens and 4, you couldn't have 4 bedrooms and 2 kitchens, based on some. But there's limitations on the zoning, but for our purposes here,
Right.
that's like outside the scope
Of what we're
we
trying
can
to
do,
accomplish tonight.
of what we can do. We hear you,
Okay.
but,
We meet the buildable area for 4 bedrooms.
correct.
And we really respect everything you all are doing. We are very involved in our community here and hope to be more involved in the Jackson community in the coming years. But I have 2 things I just want to say. I just want to bring some light to the fact of what the gentleman said about we do not know what the buyers will do with the property. Peter and Emily are trying to contribute to the community. They're, with the whole Black Mountain thing, who knows who's going to come in. It's going to be a vacation property. Those are the people who have the money to buy a piece of land and develop it. So they won't be contributing to the community except for their tax dollars. But I also wanted to ask about the implications on the river, since we are so close to the water that feeds into the Wildcat River. Are there any ordinances that change where the house can be because of our proximity to the river? We have what's it called right next to us?
Well, we have a stream that comes right
that
down
feeds into the river.
past Lucas Lane and into the river.
So I would feel like I think that's something that the planning board really needs to consider as far as, again, environmental concerns, is the proximity to the river and the construction and things overflowing into the Wildcat.
I believe it's 75 feet.
Correct. In this case, this is seasonal intermittent stream, C note 11.
Yep.
And on note 11, it's been identified as an R4 SBC water course. So that feeds out of the pond that goes eventually into the Wildcat. The Wildcat is conservatively 500 feet, 800 feet from the road. If not more. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a giant field.
It's a ways over there.
We're not right next to it.
The zoning ordinance requires that there is a setback of 75 feet from a river for any build. And so I don't see the actual representation of that. Is that here?
We're 75 from the stream.
Yeah, okay, so this is the note 11 item? Yeah.
Yeah, and so you can see it on the right-hand
Yes.
side, the
Yeah,
lower
okay.
right-hand side next to the 4K area. It's 75 feet from the seasonal stream. Had it been a year-round stream or a year-round river, something like that, it could be 100 feet from the septic system.
Yeah.
This is the 4K area. The house is actually, the house could go on the north side of that. The house could go to the west of that. I mean, there's multiple, again, we're not here for a house placement,
Right.
we're here for a subdivision.
Right. But to answer your question, yes, that would be something that would be of concern when they do house placement, and that would be the building inspector's responsibility to ensure that when the plat is developed, that it would meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance. I have a motion to accept the application. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. All right, we have a checklist that we're gonna go through. The process for the checklist is we'll go through and make sure that the information that's available on the plat meets our requirements.
And we'll fill this out for us, but I still got it.
And hopefully that's been done correctly in advance of the meeting. Occasionally, every year, occasionally we find one that's like, oops.
Yeah, no, we go through the checklist.
So it's beneficial to both the town and to the folks who are doing this, because once this gets registered with the county, and it's not right, then there's issues. The county will come back and cause trouble for everybody.
Okay, starting with the top, application signed by owner, yes, I confirm that it is. The butters list was provided, and all applicable fees were paid, and this is a minor subdivision, and it is an application for a minor subdivision. Bless you. There were 5 copies of the plat originally done, and I see that I have another 5 that are more recent, so we'll include your 5 with this.
Correct. And to be, so that we're all clear here, pending driveway permit, which is
Yep.
note number,
Yes, we won't ask for,
Yeah, we don't,
we won't ask for a final
Oh,
plat
sorry.
until it's, you know, their completion, but we'll talk about that.
okay,
yeah, I'm just saying that we'll keep these copies in here. So anybody online, if you're up here, all of these drawings will be in the town office. So at some point you want to look at them, they're always in the town office. The Mylar and proposed lot front class 4 or 5 or better street road, which it is. So now we're gonna be looking at the document. Title box showing name of proposed subdivision and identified title, town, and plan date.
that's right here in the lower corner.
Yep. Okay. Names and addresses of the applicant and the owners, if other than the applicant of the property to be subdivided.
Record owner's right above the title block.
Tax map, lot number of the lot is to be subdivided.
It's in the title block and on the plan view.
E99 address proposed, that is not applicable at this one because there's no house. Name of zoning district where the lot to be subdivided is located.
And that's gonna be in note 3.
Minimum zoning frontage requirement.
Again, that's in note 3.
Lot has scale of 1 inch equals 100 feet or better.
Yep.
North arrow. Location map clearly showing centered site location and adjacent names and road. Named roads.
That's
Yep.
right there on the title
Yep.
block. Title block right to the left where it says Peter and Emily.
Name, license, number, address, seal, and signature of surveyor.
I can see it.
Okay. Surveyor certification statement, I certify that.
That's right above the location plan.
So you put an A on this one, on the application.
Oh, which, yeah, no, that must have been because you have the other certification, going through the checklist, like my office administrator. We have a typical one, when it's not a subdivision, you have to have a certification saying that no new roads are shown in order to get it recorded. So she must have just put it in.
No problem. Okay. Boundary survey, including bearings and distance of all lots, both current and proposed, show entire parcel being subdivided with lots numbered according to Jackson's system.
Yeah, the question, is that the correct thing now?
I'm gonna confirm that. I didn't look at that because there wasn't a number on that.
Yeah, it shows a 46A.
Yeah, I think our system is now 46-1.
Your people will, your tax map people will put in whatever number they want.
Got it, okay.
It's getting crazier every day. We try, I mean, it's hard, because if you put a number, then they change and they do something different. They, you zig, they zag. And so, we went with the 46A, and they'll put the appropriate number when they do their tax mapping.
If you're redoing this thing for your Mylar, you may want to do the 46-1.
Okay.
-1. Yeah, we got rid of the alpha system. Existing and proposed topographical contours at 5 feet intervals or greater.
These are 2 foot shown on a 2 acre lot. And then, we did 10s on the 140 acres.
All zoning ordinances, setback lines, building setback, and year-round streams are noted.
Yep.
Soil map indicating soil types and soil boundaries with poor and very poorly drainage soils.
Yep.
Square feet and acreage of lot to be subdivided and each proposed lot.
So that 46A, right underneath that is your square footages and acreage. And then in a big view underneath Peter and Emily, it says remaining land, and square foot and acres.
Soil's minimum lot size chart demonstrating that each proposed lot meets the zoning minimum lot size requirements based on section C of the zoning requirements.
We didn't do it on the 140 acres, we just did it on the 2 acre piece to show that you can support 4 bedrooms.
Right, and that's located, yes. It's here.
Butter names, tax map, lot numbers matching separate butters list. That's correct. That is correct. I did confirm that. You said NA for this one, but floodplain land?
We're not in a flood zone
Yeah,
over
we're
here.
not in the flood up there, right?
And I think that's in the notes too.
Existing buildings or other human-made objects remaining? Is there anything?
Yeah, it's an empty lot.
No. Okay. All existing or proposed easements, right-of-ways, buildings other essential site features such as rock ledges, stone walls, tree lines are as applicable.
We show the tree lines around our lot, and then trails and stuff that are on the parent parcel.
Surface water is clearly identified and delineated.
Yep, the only thing you have is you have that intermittent stream here, and then the fire pond that says pond right here.
Was that request for making a comment, or? I'm sorry, did somebody?
I think he's sleeping.
Okay.
You know, this is boring.
Pretty exciting stuff, I know.
Checklist. Every time I do this, I have so much fun. Open space to be preserved. You have an A. There's nothing. Deed restrictions, if any, and all right-of-way easements and utility easements or statements indicating no knowledge of deed restrictions or easements existing.
I think we have all the easements that we have shown here.
This one is an A, but indicating of existing dry hydrant and fire pond within 200 feet, but it's not applicable here. If a private road would be located, this is NA, so it has nothing to do with a private road. Subdivision regulations compliance statement.
What does that look like?
I don't know. Subdivision regulations compliance statement.
Oh, that's this one right here on the little square above the location plan.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
There are no utility systems installed, so that's 10A. This is a minor. The only thing that you had on here that was pending, I think either you sent it or we got it directly from them, is the copy of the State Department of Environmental Services subdivision certification sheet.
Yep.
You wrote pending.
Which was when we submitted this.
Is
And
that
we
what you're
have,
talking about?
no, we have the actual, do you have the approval with you?
This one?
Yes, yes.
Yep. Did you send that?
Here's a color copy here.
Ooh, color.
More papers. Okay, so
I'll change that from pending to, got it. That's it.
All right, so, it seems that the only thing that's really outstanding is that we don't have a final copy of these, and the Mylar, and that's pending your driveway certification then?
Correct. The way DOT likes to operate now is they like to see that number on the plan before it gets recorded, so that when it does get recorded, I can provide them with a recorded plan that shows that they have a driveway permit on there, so.
And they're done that.
It's, it just adds another layer. It's not that big of a deal, but, like I said, I talked to him today, there wasn't anything serious, so it's just a matter of.
All right, so for us to do a final approval, we need to have all our requirements met. However, we can do an approval pending the outstanding requirement, and then sign off when those are received. Assuming that's acceptable to the board.
Yep.
Do I have a motion? Approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and seconded. Yes.
So it's the final mark with the driveway permit.
Correct.
Conditional. Okay.
I would like to make not a motion, but I'd like to, just in
Amend
short,
the
so, what I'd like to do is be able to change that 46 to 46-1
Yep.
and amend the driveway where it says permit pending, put the driveway permit number there,
Got it.
and then, provide you guys with the Mylar.
No problem.
Okay, and that would be appropriate since we've asked for the one?
Yep.
And the other, you don't have the information yet to provide, so as soon as that changes, that would make sense.
And then does the whole board, have to come in, or is it just the chairperson?
No, simply when you have the good documents, the office will let us know and we get them signed.
Perfect.
So, our intention is not to delay any process or to make it complicated or require that you do any additional travel or come to one. Yeah, we'd like to see you guys, but.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. That's great.
And the vote.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. I won't call the vote. All right, anything else to come up before the public hearing?
Great, thank you, board.
Hearing none,
My guess is everybody that's online is probably going to leave now, but please make sure that I have your full name in the chat so I can document that in a minute.
That's theirs. Is that right? No, that's good.
we need to vote to close the public meeting. I have a motion to close the public meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. And at this point, resuming the regular meeting. Yeah, master plan update. David, I think you're on.
Okay. This could be just as exciting as the check.
Is this the part where I get to go to sleep?
That's right. You get to go to sleep. Okay, so last, a couple weeks ago, we had our first subcommittee meeting. And the focus of that subcommittee was to design the survey and talk about the survey. Both from the perspective of what is our introduction messaging is going to be on the survey, what are the survey questions, and also what the way we're going to engage people. Okay. And I thought we were for an hour and a half. We had all the people from the subcommittee except for one, and I thought it was a very productive meeting. And I think I did send out. It was yesterday when Jake crossed paths with Jake. I did send out all of the questions that he had created based on our discussion from that meeting for you guys to take a look at. Which I think he did a great job of putting together all of our comments. We did take questions from other towns. We did take questions from our previous survey. So we kind of put together a survey that came out that way. You will notice that on the survey I sent out, which was discussed at the meeting, that we were going to do 2 surveys. A kind of introduction survey, which was like 5 or 6 questions, very high level. What's your vision of the town? What are we doing great? What can we improve? Very high level. And then after that, send out the more detailed survey. Okay, which is, if you looked at this comment, it was like 23 questions of the survey. A lot of those questions were open-ended questions, so we may not get any responses to that. We kind of pulled all of we tried to do multiple choice and then open-ended to kind of give people the space to tell us something that we may have forgotten. So that's why it's 23 questions.
So is the intent of 2 to send one out and get at least some better response on that, and then send out one that we might not get as much response?
Right. All of that sounds really, really good. However, I started to put together, I'll share this like timeline. If we want this to be done by March of next year, I don't know if we have time to do 2 surveys, because you have to wait 2 or 3 weeks to get responses. Now, we could probably push them out without waiting to get all the responses, but I mean...
And why is March the deadline? I mean, I realize it's town meeting.
Well, that was the goal, was to present
Right,
it.
but does it matter?
There's no legal requirement for us to.
I think doing it in the best way possible, certainly March makes a lot of sense, but, because then we can introduce it to the town meeting and such, but I think if it ended up being April or May or June, wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah, just to understand how the process works. This is not something that goes before the town.
Correct.
For a vote. This is something that we, as a board, we sign off on. It's our signature that says this is what we have agreed to as a board. And so, yeah, there's a front page on one of these is a signature line for each one of us, saying that we've authorized that this is the true master plan from the board.
But the town meeting is the only real time that we have the town together to present anything we do at all. We could hold a special meeting, a town meeting in April, if that's what we want to push. We had talked about, that makes it life a lot easier. I was pushing for March because that was kind of what.
Oh, and March makes sense, it's just, I wouldn't rush it to, I don't think the timing matters as much as the plan itself, I guess.
Right, I agree with you.
I'm fine with them pushing it back. I mean,
It's good to have a timeline, and it's great to see whether you can fit within that, but I agree, it's not a deal where if we say, look, it doesn't make sense for us to follow that and finish up in March, and we're not gonna do it right, then we need to adjust. So however which way your mechanics of this work, and you feel it's going to, as you work through this process, and it seems that we need more time to accomplish all our objectives, then we should allow for more time. That does not mean that we should let it run to and 30.
Right, I would rather agree to an end date, because then we can work backwards. If we say maybe April, maybe May, it's gonna become June and July, because we don't have an end date.
Yeah.
I work better if I have it
I'm,
April 15th.
we agree. I think we're all agreeing with what you're saying.
Right.
But, it doesn't mean that, we're going to, close up your house and boot you out of town
Right.
if you don't get it done
I know, but
by March 1.
that I work better if I have an end date, because then I set everything backwards to say, this is when things need to be done. And this is gonna be on the agenda every month.
That's how I used to do my homework. I got a 5-page report, I get 10 pages, I need to do a half a page a day.
All right. We're all agreeing with you.
But it's just that you were saying that you felt time was tight, and I would
But
lobby.
my other point of the 2 surveys is, you can burn people out by sending them something and then sending them something 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, and they could see you're asking the same questions. I mean, you saw what the surveys were. It feels the same. And
What if the first one went out and then had, a link or a QR code or something to the next one? So if someone wanted to continue providing more in-depth information, they could just go ahead with that next stage.
the only downside is if we don't know, because we're not gonna require them to tell us who they are.
Uh-huh.
If I don't know who they are, it doesn't save me anything on the backside of sending out something to someone.
So here's my question. You already have an idea what you want to do for both surveys. And will you make an adjustment to the second survey based on the first one? So you're not really waiting on the responses from the first one to initiate the second one. So I don't understand what the timeline between the two, just set dates and say these are the dates and this is what we'll do.
Oh, so, right, so well, I have them overlapping in the sense that they're gonna go out.
Right.
One will go out, we'll wait a couple of weeks and then we'll send the next one. Because initially there was some discussion about, do we gather information, are we gonna gather email addresses on the first one? But it was whole kind of it was presented more of a marketing tool for us to gather information from people about who they are, not their ideas, to be able to provide more additional information to them. After I looked at it, it was like, I don't know if that's really feasible.
Or whether or not that's a
We're gonna
goal,
accomplish
or
that.
that's a goal.
Or is that the goal?
And to me, this just strategically, if you send out the big one right off the bat, you'll get more responses to that, but probably fewer responses than you would if you sent out the short one. But you'll get more responses to the short one, but at the expense of responses to the big one that you sent.
Can we just identify in the first one, we're gonna have a second one?
Well, we were gonna message that you were going to get a more detailed
And,
survey.
here, this is a
in couple
quickie
weeks.
and fill it out. And if you have, all this pent up desire to really talk to us, we're gonna have a second opportunity.
I mean, I like Scott's idea of putting a link.
Yeah, I mean, if they're raring, they're already like
Gung-ho.
spouting off.
Give us the full answer. They can opt into giving us the full one at that point. The only thing you risk is somebody giving us the answer twice. That's all that matters. That's all the risk you get. Because you get the same person.
Demographic questions are not on the second survey.
They would be if we did that. Jake didn't put it. Jake and I talked about that.
Oh, okay.
We would still put the demographics at the end because
Yeah.
we need to know what their responses are because they're not linked together. So Jake will be putting the demographic questions, but name is not an option. This is never going to be an option.
No.
We're never going to put a name on it. But the demographic section will be on both.
So we can vote early and often.
That's correct. That's what
And just so that
as often as we possibly
I
can.
don't know the term, but high-level sentiments. And what are high-level sentiments? I mean, I'm not real current in.
I have a really good feeling about this. That's a high level sentiment.
Okay.
Right.
I'm not familiar with the idea.
It's kind of what it sounds
Sorry. All right.
like. It's what it sounds like. What it sounds like.
That was really loud.
It was.
Is that a high level sentiment?
Well, I'll have, that's a good point. I'll make him change that. That is a word that should,
It's just-
that's a phrase that shouldn't be in there.
I mean, I believe you understand
I do. That's why.
the idea.
How many people will get the first survey and
Same
go to
number.
the second one?
Same number of people will get both. You
And
know,
how have you figured that we're going to
Well-
distribute this thing? All kinds of ways, right?
yeah, there's all kinds of ways. And
We're gonna
because
use
we're
everyone?
not, because we're not high tech, we're gonna go door to door. No, I'm kidding. That's the challenge here. We do not have a master list of all people in this town. Okay. So the only thing we can do is post it. This will be online, but we will have paper copies. We have to have multiple ways that people can to get this. So we will have paper copies here in the office, paper copies down in the post office with envelopes that they can drop off their surveys here at the town office. We are going to have here a document with a QR code here that they can link to.
How long will the longer survey be?
23 questions.
It's 23 questions.
Did we not?
Is it too long to survey people at the post office?
Yes.
Just a thought. The library also has a distribution, and they have a very large distribution. So, and that differs many times from what e-news might be. So,
Yes, it was going to go through evenings.
yeah. So, just another possibility, assuming that they would be more than willing to assist in building community.
Did it not get mailed out last time?
We are going to mail it, and it'll be based on tax.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, everybody. Because it is going to non-residents, so it's going to taxpayers. So we could be mailing people.
Right. And in the same token, won't be going to renting residents that way.
Correct.
Right.
That's the downside of tax. And that's why we have to try to.
Right, every other way.
We have to try as many ways as we possibly can. And we're not going to do, because we don't have
What an
names.
airdrop.
Because we don't have names and stuff, we
Just
can't
like in the
say.
war, it'd be like leaflets.
Well, I don't think the post office will allow us to put it in everybody's mailbox. Which would be kind of cool, but we're not allowed to do that. We did ask that, and he said we can't do that. But it
Unless you
wa-
want to pay, because you can do a distribution to all postal customers in a.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, we could put a stamp on a piece of paper and fold it in, and put it in everybody's mailbox.
Which still doesn't capture everybody.
Right.
I mean, I don't have a PO in Jackson, so.
Correct. Right, so that's why we have to go as multiple ways, so there's the likelihood of us potentially getting a survey, multiple surveys from one person is possible if they do want to do that. My guess is once they see it once, they're never going to want to do it again. So I think the likelihood of them doing it more than once is very unlikely.
It's not like the All-Star game.
Correct.
Baseball.
So, I know I only sent it out yesterday, again, now that I'm not under the time frame of January, the end of January. We could, if you guys could take a look at the survey, give me your feedback. We're meeting next Thursday here to kind of move to the next step of finalizing how we're going to do this and how we're going to put the survey out and kind of really kind of fine tune it. I don't know if I need the board's approval on how we're going to do that. I may have to talk to you about funding, because we do have the funds. I'm talking about like postage
Yep.
and printing of the survey.
I would say that you need to get approval for anything of that nature, yeah.
Right, so, right, but I want to finalize all of that at our meeting next week, so I can come back to you guys next month and say, here's the amount, here's the cost.
Yep.
All of that, here's the final survey, put your stamp of approval on it, and then we can get it out, and that would be July.
Right.
So then we'd be putting it out in July, and if I really don't have to wait, then I could put this one out, wait a couple of weeks, and put out the second one at the same time. But I do like your idea of on the link on our website.
Yep.
We can actually say at the end of the survey, if you like, there's a longer survey, it will be sent out, but if you want to complete it now, click this link and finish doing the survey.
All right, so what I hear you saying then is that you would like to get some input from the board members on what you sent out yesterday. And
Exactly like what Dick just did.
yeah, and I think it would be useful for us to get responses back to David, so that you can have them for next week.
Yep.
So we can do that individually. I don't think we need to use our meeting time. It's an effective use of meeting time for that.
Because some of these you'll recognize, some of these are pretty self-explanatory, but it's words like that. It's like, read it like you're going to be taking it. And does it make sense? And if we're missing anything, because Jake took it from other people, there may be choices here that really don't apply to us. And when I read this, it was like, some of these don't really apply to us, but do we still want to put them here?
Maybe, maybe not.
And maybe not,
Yeah.
because that'll just make confusion.
The multiple choice answers always lead people.
Right.
Those answers put you in a box. Okay, one of the 4 answers I'm going to put forward. But that kind of leads you. I like the open-ended questions where, yeah, somebody's going to have to write a thought. You know, put down a thought and write it.
Yeah, it's really tough. Those are the real tough ones to
Yeah. But that's really,
quantify.
that's good information.
All right, so,
Okay.
If people will do it.
all right.
If they
Comments
right.
back to David by next week,
By next Wednesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday, so that you can actually look at them.
Yep.
We do that individually.
Yep.
Have not done my deep dive because I wasn't really able to do that yesterday.
Oh, and on distribution, like I know there's a number of members of the fire department that are not residents, but their input could be very valuable.
We did talk about that, and it's like, how are we going to get their comments? It's like there are some, that could be because the next thing we are talking about next week is also to start talking about a community event. And that also could be a way for people to do surveys, if they, or at least collect, get them, was doing something at the Whitney Center, because the other thing I brought, and most of you probably already know this, but there are 15 sections of the master plan that have to be discussed. And these are the listing of the 15 different sections. And some people are going to be interested in some, and some will not care about others. So another thing that we're talking about is what's other subcommittees, because that was the other thing we talked about, like what other subcommittees. And that's another thing that we're going to talk about next week, about do we have like breakout, like do we do one big breakout with different committees at different tables to start strategizing on ideas and thoughts and people's interest also in that way, just to gather as much information we can as it is. So that's the other thing so those are my 2 agendas for next week, kind of finalizing the survey and the process so we can get you guys to vote on it, and also to begin to talk about the subcommittees, the other ones,
right,
and that you guys can approve on those other subcommittees.
Great.
I'm not going to be there
Next Thursday.
next week.
Okay.
In Cooperstown
Oh my God, Cooperstown.
with
So,
my grandchildren.
Dick, question for you. Is the Conservation Commission want to be on the coastal management section?
I believe they do. I put it forward last week. They were forming up their ideas. I'll keep reminding them that they have to add to this.
But it is interesting when I read this list, and this list is verbatim out of the RSA, so this isn't something I made up. This
The semi-joke on that is that the coastal management section says not applicable on the sheets.
But I want to be thorough and include all of the curve, it's there, and it does actually say in the RSA, if it's applicable, you have it in your thing. We don't have to worry about that.
Wildcat River is got a long coast.
That's not what they consider the coastal management. But anyway, so.
I love the open-ended stuff because you're gonna get some things you might not have even thought about, you know?
It is interesting when you read our master plan from 2016, number L, housing, was almost not even addressed in 2016. It's just interesting. They talked about residential development, but not housing.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
no
Have a
problem.
great update.
Great update.
All right, conversation about changes to the accessory dwelling unit ordinance.
We're almost there, Deputy. We're almost there.
Oh, it's all right.
I think this is a conversation we had about whether or not we want to make changes to that or not. And if we do, what considerations we might have. And there were several emails that got passed around and thoughts about what we might do. Some of the things that we have that are limitations. We always have limitations in Jackson because of septic and sewage. But one of the considerations was whether or not we wanted to be able to allow for different size of units than what we currently have.
1,000 square feet.
Yeah, we currently have 1,000 square foot as the maximum size, and we're permitted to set our limit. We can't set it below a certain number, but we can set it above. And then the question there is whether or not there are other issues that become apparent once you increase the size above 1,000 square feet. Obviously, if you change between 1,000 square feet and 1,100 square feet, it's probably not a big number, but if you change between 1,000 and 2,000, for sure it is. And the question is whether or not that's something that we want to consider or not, or if there are any other things that we would like to talk about that we could possibly do. And open for discussion.
I like 1,000 square feet because I think if we keep that type of a limit, 1,000 is good for me. It would keep some developer from building the second house.
Well, yeah, exactly, to your point, when we're looking at this arrangement here, and the questions that were asked for the folks who are online, what can they build? What's possible? What's the possibility? The possibility is by law, everyone is allowed, by right, an accessory dwelling unit as long as it meets all the other criteria of the zoning ordinance. And so, again, the difficulty for most of us would be if you have a 4-bedroom septic and you have a 3-bedroom home, the most you're going to be able to do is add another bedroom. At 1,250 square feet, that's going to be one large bedroom for a large facility for a single bedroom home.
I think it would be 1.5. I think you have to have a half.
Excuse me?
I think it's 1.5 now for So you would have to have, if you have a 3-bedroom, you couldn't have just a single bedroom because it would be 1.5. At least that's what I run into.
Right, but, I mean, you need to have a 4-bedroom anyhow.
Exactly, exactly.
So you already have that 4th bedroom. I mean, to me, the limitation is simply the cost of building them.
Yeah.
I think we're about as permissive as you can get. I'd love to be more permissive if that caused them to appear, but I don't think that's the limitation. I think it's just simply the cost.
Does property require, like, when we built ours, I mean, one of the questions we had is, do we just put another septic in?
Yeah, I mean, we don't require another septic be put in, you just have to have a plan for a sufficient septic. So when yours fails, you have a plan to put a new one in that will be sufficient.
No, we were gonna put a second for the,
But I'm just saying, by law, you don't have to put
No.
in a new one, you just,
but if my septic is 4 bedrooms.
right.
I have a 3-bedroom house, so I put in a septic.
And you were fine without any
I was
addition?
fine.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to put 2 bedrooms there, my septic wasn't big enough, so I would put in either a larger septic or I put in a second tank.
And I guess what Scott's saying is you would not have been required to install that second septic. You would have been required to create a plan for it. And then if your regular septic system failed, then you'd be required to build the second septic. That's what the current requirement is.
Kevin explained. Okay.
Because
That is how it works.
That's why
because
I-
I mean, septic is it's not an exact science.
No, I understand. I just, but I think some people get confused by the way we write our thing. We've dealt with this issue. People saying we have this big of a septic and I can't build a house without this size of a septic, and so I also agree that I think 1,000 to 1,250. It's the cost of building at 1,250.
Or even 1,000. I mean, it's just the cost of building. Yeah, it depends on what your use is. If you're building it for a family member, then the cost is not so much of a barrier, as long as you can afford it. If you're building it to recoup the cost through rent, so that it offsets some other costs, then the cost of building becomes the limiting factor.
Correct.
You're looking at 20 years at best to.
Right. So there's external
Right.
forces limiting people building larger.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think what we're doing in Jackson is limiting anybody. I think it's the external forces that are limiting.
Yeah, the other backdrop on this is that there was legislation at the state level to allow for 2 ADU units by right for any home. And
You have 2 sets of in-law parents.
And so, well, you take a look at some of the developments that, for example, in California, somebody puts in a 350 square foot granny pod or whatever you want to call it. And those things have a footprint that's not much larger than the table here. And could you put 2 of those in with a single bedroom? And the answer is, well, you can't right now because we don't allow it, but physically, could you do that? Yeah, you could, but then we have the bedroom requirement. Again, there's so many moving parts in this process that the limit on dealing with the septic and that sort of thing definitely creates a problem for us. And by the way, that particular legislation would not have applied to Jackson because it requires that you have a town water and town sewage. So, and we don't have either. But it's that kind of thinking that's out there that folks have relative to accessory dwelling units. And yet it's useful to, I think, reconsider what we have and determine whether or not what we have is good. And as things change, if there's something that changes that makes sense, we should be, again, reevaluating of what we think about how we do things. And what I hear you saying is
Nothing. We're good.
not a lot of energy around making changes. Thank you. Scott, we're at 10 after 8 and perfect timing.
Right on.
Right on time, we brought it up to snuff here. I asked Scott to lead a discussion on RSA 79E, as we had some interest from the master plan discussion. Deputy Deal has been a proponent of us doing this, and we appreciate that. Basically, we would like to just have a general discussion on the board about what it is, and whether or not it's something we should pursue, and if we should pursue, how we're going about doing it. Scott, yours.
So in its purest form, 79E allows repair, revitalization of structures to promote the community, and the incentive is that taxes are locked into the improved value for some period of years after the project is complete. The basis of it is mostly focused on historical structures and village centers, but there are additional sections or provisions that allow for residential structures and allows the town to designate a zone for which residential tax relief can occur through this program. I don't know if the town can designate the entire town as that zone. I think that's what we're doing for residential, that's probably what we want to do. Or whether the zone has to be some subset of the town. That's something, I tried reaching out to the Municipal Association this afternoon, have not heard back yet. There is also, just at a high level, there's also another section that allows it to be used for affordable housing, and again, in a specific residential zone. I don't think, especially because that's tied to 80% area median income, I don't think it would do much for Jackson, certainly in terms of the community. I think that sort of housing tends to be more transient, but we already have housing incentives or development incentives for that 80% AMI. And so far, we've not seen any action on those incentives. So I'm not sure I would spend much effort on that particular part of it. For the residential, the requirements for a residential home is that it be in this designated zone, it be at least 40 years old, that it be one or two family or multifamily of 4 or less. I'm not sure why it doesn't just say multifamily of 4 or less. But, so in addition to those 4 requirements, it then needs to be one of the following, which is enhance downtown economic vitality. So you could say that anything doesn't do that in some form. Enhance or improve historical or cultural structures, because it depends on the home itself. Promote preservation and reuse of existing housing stock. That would be pretty much dead center what we'd want to be doing. Promote development in municipal centers. We don't really have much area in the municipal center to develop, although what you guys are doing would be the one potential there maybe. And increase housing in town center. So, as I said, I think if we want to use this to promote revitalization of the homes around town that are falling into disrepair, a lot of which are not even being used at all, we would designate either a zone or the whole entire town as that. I'm not sure if I have it here, but something, I don't know if you know the name of it, David, the residential zone.
Oh,
It's
there's two.
RPRZ.
Yeah, there's two of them, and then there's also the HOZ for residential area. It's
But-
very clear, you're right, we were talking about this earlier, it's very defined as far as like this part of the town, the village area. I mean, that to me is the simplest thing to implement, is anything we do in the village, like with your area, that would be easy to roll out and explain. It's when we get into the residential areas and how to define what house, and what houses can,
So what?
and each one of them are separate.
You know,
You vote on each one of these separately as the town.
right, would it be useful, as you say, if you vote on them separately, then obviously one would, you could set up two separate channels. I'm not as familiar with the residential part as I am with the part about the town center kind of thing, because that's been the primary focus of both the HB 1103 and actually of the RSA 79E.
I noticed on the agenda HB 1103, I hadn't looked at that yet.
Yeah,
When I quickly glanced at it, it sounded like it was trying to push it more towards residential.
Yeah.
Is that true?
No.
I didn't perceive it as such. What I
I
perceived
just
that,
read the headline. And
yeah, what I perceived it to be is simply allowing towns to be a little bit more flexible in how they implement the 79E and enabling it. It's one of the few opportunities that the state is actually allowing where a town can or a city can actually say, we're not going to charge you the full tax load if you will develop your property. And it's not a forever deal, but for a certain period, you defer, not defer, but do not, well, actually, you defer the tax increase, if you will. And so you charge a lesser rate for a property that's been improved for a period certain, which is intended to encourage someone financially to do it. And that's the whole point of it, is that they're underutilized properties. They're to the point, as you say, they're either historical properties or properties that are older that have been used for a particular thing, and it's not economical to just simply say, oh, I'm going to fix this place up, and for the person who's doing it. And so there's a need to provide some incentive for that action, and that was the intention of 79E, and also for the updates to it. And I think it just offered a little bit more flexibility for implementation, but it's still not law yet, so. But it did make it through. I think it's up for.
Could it be used for lower income properties? Develop properties for lower income houses?
Well, there is a section that allows it to be used for development of affordable housing.
Yeah.
But it's based on 80% AMI, area median income. Most of the housing that we're looking to do, we're going to use more like 100 to 120% AMI. Yeah, two people working at AMC probably wouldn't qualify for 80% AMI. And so, as I said, the 80% AMI tends to be more, it's workforce, but it tends to be more transient workforce. So it's not as much community centered. It doesn't mean that someone can't make a low income and still be a great part of the community. I mean, obviously, but just in general.
And yeah, the change there really, in that particular provision is really to enable, really city centers and that sort of thing where the housing or a particular block is just not being used properly and allow for redevelopment of that to meet housing needs.
And we have an affordable housing incentive with cluster developments that probably supersedes this in value because you can add more units if they're affordable if you're doing a cluster development. You can have a lot less common land, you can have less frontage. So I think, as I said, I don't think, and we've not had anyone take advantage of those incentives yet, and they've been on the books for a number of years. So I don't really see that part of it doing a lot for us. Whether the regular residential one would encourage people to, spruce up some of the homes that are falling apart or get people living in them. I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't hurt for sure. But it, as David said, the village center one is sort of the easiest one to do. I think there's not a lot within the village center. There's the Thompson House and not much else. Well, there's the garage.
Well, just across the street.
Riverwood? Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to talk a little bit about why I brought this forward.
Yep.
The master plan is part of that, and it seemed like this RSA touches on a lot of aspects that we might be considering when we're talking about the master plan. Obviously, it was brought to my attention, well, not obviously, but it was brought to my attention when the town hall was being transformed and moved to become the Historical Society. And Martha Cummings, who is part of the Historical Preservation Society, was there. And we had a conversation. And in follow-up to that conversation, she sent this RSA to me and said, hey, I just wanted to forward this to you because your community might be interested in this. And so in looking at it, it touched on not only the economic development of the village center, but it really was an encouragement for us to consider using the current stock, as you referred, for improvements and solutions. And when we start talking about building affordable housing for whatever group that means, and we start to look around the village loop and we say, well, there's not really anything that it applies to. Right across the street, the Riverwood is going to close. It's got buildings in the back, it's got an inn in the front. It could easily be housing and or an inn or a combination of those two that serve its own purpose for itself.
And there's another building right next door.
And there's another building right next door. And we've got J-Town Deli that's been sitting on a building that is sinking into the ground. That with just a little bit of incentive, maybe folks would put some money into these buildings and start to come up with organic housing solutions that serve our community at the level that we're living at. So it really is a suggestion of what you can do positively rather than what you can't do. And when I listened to the conversation about ADU, and Dick, you and I sat on a committee where we designed accessory dwelling unit because we discovered in town that there were all these folks that had undocumented living quarters over, under, next to, whatever you want to call it, and it became a problem. But what it was an organic solution to our aging community. It was an organic solution to our mentally limited community. It was an organic solution to our working community. And we redefined that. And now here we are again. And so when we talk about ADU, I say, what really is the intention behind an ADU? We talk about 1,200, 1,000. It's really, at the end of the day, it's all limited by a closet and a bedroom. Really. And that's defined by the septic capacity. And so we're mincing words, and when we talk about intention about what we want to lead with, it seems like this is a positive way to say to people, and not just at the Thompson House, but all around the village loop and in our rural residential district, is to encourage people to use current stock to come up with solutions and be rewarded for it. So it was born out of a conversation with Martha Cummings and the moving of the Historical Society. And then suddenly, unplanned, I ended up being the owner of the Thompson House. And here we are, and we're gonna have another conversation probably in a few minutes about the intention behind that situation that will run even a little bit deeper, because it's gonna overlap into the short-term rental conversation. And so I lead with the fact that this is something that we get to make choices about how to implement it, how it works for us, and, you know, and then encourage people to do things, come up with their own solutions and be rewarded for it, instead of saying, you can't do this. We're saying, we encourage you to do this. And it keeps the historical, because the other thing that we're not really talking about here is that you have to meet with a historian who is diligent and knowledgeable in what you're doing, so that you're meeting the historical expectation in the visual part of it.
For that part, for the residential, there's not that historian aspect to it as I read it. I'm not arguing against any of it. I think all of it's good.
Okay, so
I just see.
I'm hearing lots of different things, and we're not gonna adjudicate it right now. What we need to do, though, is we need to figure out a way for us to move forward on this. And so I guess the question is that something that ends up finding its way in the master plan activity? Or do we separate this out or allow the master plan to separate this out as a potential subsection of one of these activities? Because we can do it separately. We can do it as a planning board activity that's not the master plan, and not burden the master plan with this.
Well, again, the master plan isn't regulations. It has no regulatory function to it. It's just the vision.
Yep.
So this would be a solution
Yep.
that we would recommend to be implemented to address a variety of issues in the master plan that we would identify, as housing is one of them. Economic development is another one in the master plan. I think it has to run parallel.
I mean, why do we need to delay it by running it through the master plan?
Right.
I mean, why not just, if we're interested in it, why not just go forward?
Right. And we will mention it in the master plan, so it's there, and we'll talk about it there.
I think there's something in one of the documents I read where it sort of needs to be supported by the master plan.
Correct, which is what I see the master plan doing, is supporting the need for this and kind of formalizing how we're going to, where we're going to place it. But there's a lot of regulations that need to be fleshed out. Your whole issue is, do we make the whole town?
Or is it possible even?
To do that? Or is it a certain section of, we know where there are homes that could be full-time residents, potentially, if they get upgraded? Because right now, they're not. They're not sellable.
And I think they're kind of evenly spread
Right.
all over town.
And you can create, because what we were talking about is that it's the housing opportunity zone, which you can establish, which I said earlier, Conway is the only town that has implemented that zone.
And maybe you don't have some of those things.
Right, no other town has done it. They've implemented other portions of this, but Conway is the only one that's implemented this. No one has taken advantage of it.
So, I'm hearing a little bit of chicken and egg kind of thing. It's gotta be supported by the master plan. Master plan's not done to the point where I think our current master plan would, I don't know, maybe we could read our current master plan and say, yeah, it does support something like this anyways, without having an update. I don't know. But if it's something that requires the update of the master plan before we can implement it, the question is, can we do it on a parallel basis? I think that was your comment.
I think we could implement it. I think if we wanted to do the work, we could get it done. There's something that could be at the next town meeting.
Okay, so I tend to agree. I want to hear other people's opinions. If that's the case, how do we go about doing that? Do we set up a subcommittee? And if we're going to do that, because it's not something we're going to sit down as a group of 10 people and hash it out. Can we agree to establish a subcommittee and get people assigned to it and get it done?
I agree.
Is that something that?
I would be willing to volunteer for that.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Work on that.
And speaking of ADUs, it'd be great if you could apply them. I don't think that's possible.
All right.
And I'll be on the subcommittee.
Okay, so we need to vote to establish that, and if we could have a vote to establish that, and then I can assign folks for that.
I motion that we form a subcommittee to begin to.
We have a motion. I have a second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're good.
Thank you.
Any volunteers?
I'll be on.
All right, I've got,
3 of us.
would you like to also be on it?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. See, 1, 2, 3. Yes, we can have 3 people from the planning board on it. It's my job to appoint this subcommittee, so I'm appointing.
I'll volunteer as well. Ralph Cronin.
You got your name?
Yep. You signed it, right?
That wasn't pre-planned, that's a surprise, thank you.
There you go. All right. If you guys could figure out what you want to do and how you want to do it, and then figure out whether or not you've got something for next meeting or August meeting. Obviously, this is not one of those things that's a barn burner, because it needs to get approved in March. And so it's not something, but again, to your point around timelines, and if you let it go too far, then it may not get the attention it needs. So figure out what your schedule is,
And figure out which words we want to use.
Right.
Yep.
And which one? Because we could implement them. I mean, the housing one could be next year. Or
Well, and the housing might already be addressed by the housing committee and what they're doing, so.
Yeah, again, I think that's why I want to have a smaller group take a look at it, discuss it, figure out. And I think we have a good group of people to talk about it, because I think you guys all know what the ends and among you know all the ups and downs. That's a good group.
Thank you.
All right. I have a feeling that Bob was called away.
Yes.
In a way that he can't have a conversation about the Dana Place. Road Stream Crossing Plan. However, he can't present it, but I would like to have a discussion around it, please, if we could. And that is that the material has been sent to the planning board to review this road stream crossing plan. And we had a hard time understanding among the folks that who did see it what our role as the planning board was to do any part of the review. We're hoping that Bob might provide us with more information. But generally speaking, the planning board does not have any kind of enforcement or site plan responsibility. And this is an existing property which is looking to make changes to their existing arrangement. And I've only been here a decade. I asked Dick. Dick's been around here for a lot longer, and so has Scott. And none of us have any understanding that this is a role for the planning board to do a review of this kind. If the intention was to talk about it, yeah, we have a bunch of really smart people here, especially these two guys, and I listen well. And if there was something that we could offer assistance on, we were happy to do that. But from what I could see, normally, I was on the Conservation Commission for some short time. Something like this was something that normally would be going to the Conservation Commission for comment, and other than that, it would be something that would be reviewed at the state level. And if the town had involvement in the process, then that would be something that someone like Burr Phillips might get involved with to represent the town relative to any information or anything like that. So we're having a hard time, and I know we have a couple of folks online here that are interested in this particular. Bob Thompson was here. He's called away. He's an EMT. Am I saying that correctly? And I believe he got called, and he won't be back this evening. Is there something that you guys wanted to comment on that we could at least talk to, or we're really at a loss to understand what our role is here?
My name is Angelo Simeoni. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I have been involved with this project since the beginning, prior to the beginning, back in 2017, when the culvert first started showing signs of decline. In 2023, it failed. I went to the select board and asked for their help in lowering the speed limit on Route 16 because I was directed by the New Hampshire DOT to go to the select board for that reason. At the time, the select board said that they couldn't, it was too complicated and it required highway studies and whatever. But as an outgrowth to that, the Dana Place, there were two signs indicating where Dana Place Road was placed on 16, warning people. Well, as I did my research, I found out that the select board is actually in charge of the roadway design and maintenance of both public and private roads in Jackson. And so you're absolutely right. This is not an issue for the planning board. It's not an issue for the Conservation Commission. It's an issue for the select board. And we keep getting tossed around back and forth, go here, go there. We'll do this for you, we'll do that for you. They haven't done anything for us. Okay? On October of 2025, I sent a letter to the select board explaining that the abutter, Mr. Levine, who I'm sure you're very familiar with, who owns the Dana Place Inn, refused to cooperate with us. And after spending over $20,000 of the 16 people who live on Dana Place Road for legal and engineering fees to come up with the plan that you see, not the written plan, but the working drawings, the select board suggested that back in December that we contact the planning board. Now, I don't understand why either. Okay, so I'm with you. And I don't believe that we should go to the Conservation Commission. It has nothing to do with the Conservation Commission. It has to do with New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. And all we need is Mr. Levine to sign off on the easement, on his part of the easement, so that we can replace the bridge. We are paying for everything. We've even agreed to pay Mr. Levine's lawyer to review anything that we have and comment on it, and we would pay his services. But again, Mr. Levine refuses, and the select board refuses. And where I have a problem is that Mr. Levine's attorney is also the select board's attorney. So I don't know if there's a conflict of interest there or not, but I think that something needs to be done because if anybody gets injured at the existing Dana Place Road, we assume no liability because the town is supposed to be working with us and they're working against us. Okay, so I think that you're absolutely right. We have no business at the planning board, and I wish you would talk to Bob about this and make it clear to him that this is select board's responsibility, and that there is an issue with the attorney that they have secured because he also represents Mr. Levine. And if you talk to the 16 people on Dana Place Road, we're questioning what's going on there.
If I may.
Go to anyone else.
If I may, first, I just, you brought up a couple of subjects. The first that you brought up was around the speed limit on Route 16. And the answer to that question, and I'm not sure how the select board responded to you, but if there is any change to be made to the speed limit there, it is not something that the local select board can accomplish. They can request it, and there, as you perhaps have seen down in Albany, they've had this has been in the news and the Conway Daily Sun more recently, where they have been looking for a change of the speed limit there. Again, it's not something that can be done by the local government. It has to be done by the state. The town can make a request of the state Department of Transportation, but it is up to them to determine whether or not they wish to even consider it. I don't know what that was back in 2017 or whatever, but it is not something that the town has a responsibility for, directly or indirectly. It is a state function. To the other thing that you obviously brought up was in regard to, it appears that you have a definite situation there that needs to be addressed. I would agree with your comment that the Department of Environmental Services what we saw that was presented to us was a working drawing of the replacement for the culvert that you folks have been working on, and whether or not that is something that we should review. That is not something that the planning board would review. When something like that does happen and is presented to the Department of Environmental Services, they usually will send a copy to the Conservation Commission for comment, and the Conservation Commission can choose to comment in a positive way, a negative way, or not at all. If they choose to make a positive comment, apparently that helps move the thing forward more quickly. But that is the only role, I think, for any town agency other than the select board to be involved in this process. I don't know what the select board's responsibility is relative to what you're discussing, because we're not the select board and it's not our responsibility, and we don't have the professional staff to support even telling us what we don't know. So I guess we have to defer on that. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, somebody else?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody has a speaker.
Yeah,
Somebody has a speaker on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please turn your speaker. Please turn your speaker off. Yes, we can hear you. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost you. All right, for those guys who are still on, basically we're not going to do anything with this, and Bob perhaps may have been able to help us push us forward somewhat, but we don't perceive that this is something for a planning board review, and it's not within our my understanding of what our responsibility is. And I have two former planning board chairs here sitting with me. So we have and a former selectman as well. So we have a bunch of experience here to say I don't think so. So we're not going to, and we apologize for this process of it being pushed to us. We only became aware of it just most recently. And we put it on our agenda.
Excuse me, could I ask a question?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Would you be willing to, push the select board a little bit? This seems to be their bailiwick, and they don't seem to be anxious to take it on. So that's what we would like help from wherever we can get it to move the process forward. This was all set to happen in the fall of 2025, and Levine was the only reason that it didn't happen.
Our understanding.
And we need the town to push him.
Okay.
Our understanding is that really the only thing the town can do in this situation is make a request of the state regarding, say, the speed limits. Historically, that probably stands little chance of going very far. As far as issues with the property owner, the abutting property owner, that's between you and the property owner. That's not a town issue in any sense.
Well, I would take issue with that because the town, the select board, sent us a letter in December saying that we were not in compliance with our subdivision plan because this culvert is out, and it cited a public safety issue.
Right.
So therefore, the town has acknowledged that there's something going on there that they are taking an interest in. But that's as far as it's gone.
And that it's the responsibility of the property owners to rectify that situation. The town isn't responsible for creating a solution. It's responsible for addressing.
For identifying the issue.
And also the town's responsibility is to I believe, according to your road design standards manual, to oversee and enforce these easements. I mean, you can look in the manual, and it's the select board's responsibility.
I would agree that whatever enforcement requirements are out there in the zoning ordinance belong to the select board. I will agree with you on that. As to whether or not this is something that they should be doing or not doing, that's not our determination. So we're not in a position to do other than to say, to your point of should we be pushing the select board to do their job. This will be in the minutes. We will have had the discussion. We will have publicly identified that we among the members sitting in the planning board feel that it is not our responsibility, and that if the select board is looking to us for something, we do not feel that it's an appropriate way to move forward with whatever enforcement process they're trying to engage in. So I apologize. I feel for you, because if I were in your shoes, I would want whatever opportunity I can get to have a public hearing on it and be able to move it forward.
I just wanted to make one clarification.
Yes.
I went to the select board to have this be at the request of the New Hampshire DOT to have them send DOT a request, but that was only until we got the culvert resolved, the culvert issue resolved, and it wasn't a permanent thing, and that's not the major. That's the major thrust of this matter right now. The major thrust is that we're being sent to every corner of the town of Jackson, and nothing is moving forward. And where do we take it next? Do we take it to the state? What do we do?
Again, we are not a legal body, and we do not have legitimacy to have comment to you anyway, and so I can't offer you anything that I mean, other than I feel badly about the situation as an individual, and I think we all do.
One other thing from go ahead, Angela.
We feel badly for the situation also, because every day that goes by, the odds of a major fatality occurring at that intersection again is going to happen, okay? And we're just spinning wheels here.
Yep.
There was some conversation about whether the planning board felt that, you had mentioned this before, about it going to the Conservation Commission. I'd at least like to short circuit that so that it doesn't get kicked to some other department again, and just, if you wouldn't mind just telling the select board, there is no need for it to go there.
I will reverse my comments on that. It will go automatically to the Conservation Commission if it goes before the DES.
Right.
It's not something that it's not anything that anybody has to do. They will do that automatically.
Okay.
So that's not something that, gets pushed from one place to another. I guess when we saw this, we just looked at it and said, if anybody's going to be looking at this in town, it's them. And that's the process on how that works. Okay.
So when the select board sent us the letter in December, they had asked that we submit a plan to you, which we did, and unfortunately we sent it by way of the select board and it died there. And so you only just recently got it?
Yeah, that's correct.
Supposedly?
2 weeks ago.
And is there any further action that needs to happen on that from your end? Do you need to approve it? Is there anything that needs to be done with that?
No.
Okay.
As part of our minutes, you were hearing that what we have discussed. We have already sent a note back to the select board indicating that we did not believe it was our responsibility. And we did that more immediately.
And will that be reflected in the minutes?
Yes.
That last sentence?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That was Jeff High. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry, who was that again?
Joe High.
That was Jeff High.
Oh, okay. That's
Jeff High.
The guy who spells his H-E-I.
Well, there's no name on that.
Yes. Sorry.
The here, though, the issue here is that essentially we were told we were non-compliant, and we submitted a plan, as Angelo explained, and we supplied that plan to the select board, and you got the planning board. What has the select board done at this point in time to get the same information from Levine? We
I'm
have
sorry,
seen nothing.
I'm gonna have to cut off
And
our
that's where
conversation.
we're stuck.
I'm
We
gonna
come
have,
up with a solution.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cut off our conversation. We basically have to tell you that we do not know what they've done or why they've done it, or we do not have responsibility for this, and the fact that it got sent our way does not create a responsibility. It's just simply, it's been a.
No,
I'm sorry. I think we're done. Please.
Yep.
We can't offer
Thanks.
you anything more.
I understand your point of, I understand your point of view there. I clearly understand, but I just wanted to make the point is that
Sure,
we're
go
trying
ahead.
to do what we thought was the right thing to kind of like move this along, and we're not at a dead stop, that's all.
And if I said I agreed with you, that would be a personal statement, not an official one.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay,
We have the patience of a saint.
the next thing on the agenda.
Thank you for your patience.
Very good. Very good. That was difficult.
So, we're gonna move on now to the short-term rental. So I have an application here for a short-term rental from Debony. It's a 2-bedroom plus loft. Septic permit is okay. You're still waiting for your meals and room tax, correct?
Pending.
Pending. So she's applied for that, but it's pending. And with 2 bedrooms and a loft, how are you gonna, because you've not put any ad in, correct?
No.
You've not advertised that. What are you gonna advertise for people? What's your max people you're gonna put in? Because it's
So it's
4.
2 per bedroom.
It's a test.
Plus one is 5, and then I don't know how the loft counts, honestly.
Yeah, you don't really get to count the loft.
Yeah.
You get two per bedroom. That's an official bedroom plus 2.
Oh, all right, so 6.
So if you have a 2-bedroom arrangement, then that's 6 total.
6 total.
Great.
And we can accept the application with comment indicating that we don't yet have room meals and or evidence of any advertisement. So I need a motion to accept the application. I have a motion to accept. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
What's next? Dick?
Hang out. We have plenty of additional seats here,
You got more to say?
New business. New business. Do anybody have new business that they want to talk about? Shame on you.
I have a lot to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you for hanging out.
Okay, Dick, I think you have responsibility for this next.
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I'd like to second that motion.
I have a motion to adjourn the meeting in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Woo! Thank you,
Thank
folks. Appreciate it. We're about 8 minutes late. That's not bad.
I happened to be at the select board meeting where all of the
Good to see you.
schemes and such came up.
This is my partner.
Yeah, it was very much.
Who wants to know about Cronin.